The new Cyborg series debuts today and features Vic Stone going through some sort of intense cybernetic version of puberty. Writer David Walker is here to walk us through the mechanics of the new story.
Cyborg #1 begins at this sort of crucial phase in Vic's life. His technology is evolving in a way that he doesn't quite understand. It's almost like going through puberty. It's the equivalent of cybernetic puberty is going through. It's him trying to figure out what's going on with me. Meanwhile, some people are like, hey, we sort of like your cybernetics and we're willing to chop you up and take it away from you. So that's the key thrust of it. But it's also him exploring sort of who he is away from the Justice League. And a lot of it's about him trying to define himself as this sort of hero, not in relation to Superman or Batman or Shazam, but by himself. And so it's really about building up Cyborg's world as a solo character, because that's ultimately what this is about.
Walker is also trying to humanize a character that's mostly machine by having him face real-life issues.
You know, the first thing he's dealing with is this sort of intergalactic threat. What I would love to do and what I want to do is I want to address sort of what's going on in the inner cities in terms of, you know, crime and violence and police brutality. And you've got a guy who's a walking, living weapon. You know, how would the police view him? How will the military view him? And more importantly, who does his tech belong to? And so that's another thing that I want to deal with, which is something where a lot of us are dealing with this at this point in our lives, is like, who do we belong to in terms of our bodies, in terms of what we do with what we have? I want to get into like a lot of human issues because he's a pretty fantastical character in and of himself, but I don't think any superhero is that interesting if you're not really exploring their humanity. It doesn't matter if they're from Krypton or, you know, a super Amazon lady or 70% robot. It's like if you're not dealing with the human side of the story, it's not that engaging.
And even though Cyborg is going solo, we'll still see some familiar faces pop up.
Probably the first recognizable cameo will be the Metal Men. And there's going to be some others, but we're also building on his existing cast of supporting characters. So his father, Dr. Thomas Morrow, Sarah Charles, bringing in some new people that we've never seen, that like knew Vic when he was still in high school. It's almost like what happens when you go back to your hometown. You leave your hometown, you were just a high school football star, you come back and you remember the Justice League, and people are like, hey, what's going on? And you're like, oh yeah, I remember, yeah, we were on the same football team together. And so there's that sort of stuff. It's really about building a world specifically for Vic Stone and Cyborg. So there will be some appearances. There's a couple of people I want to bring in. I'm not going to name any names, but they're the people that the fans really want to see.
And Cyborg isn't the only character struggling to find his place. You can check out issue 2 of We Are Robin today to see how hundreds of Robins roaming the streets of Gotham struggle to find a leader. Make sure you guys click subscribe and let us know in the comments below what you think of the new Cyborg.